Football, a game of giants. This is the story of the season no one will ever forget. A season where the impossible became normal, where underdogs ruled giants, and where the beautiful game turned truly poetic. Bayer Leverkusen, 2023-24. The day the curse died. They used to call them Neverkusen, the team that always came close, but never finished the job. In 2000, they lost the league by a single point. In 2002, they lost 3 trophies in 11 days. It became a running joke, second-place specialists. But in 2023-24, that changed. Xabi Alonso, a man of calm, class, and control, turned humiliation into history. No one believed they could do it. No superstars, no ego, no massive spending. Just chemistry, hard work, and belief. Leverkusen went unbeaten. They didn't just win, they played beautifully. Football that looked like art. Every pass, every press, every goal, pure harmony. The curse was broken. And when Xabi lifted that trophy, it wasn't just a title. It was redemption for decades of pain. The streets of Leverkusen roared, and for the first time in 120 years, history smiled on them. Atlanta 2023-24. The miracle of Bergamo. Then there was Atlanta, a small club from the mountains of Italy. No one expected them to reach the top. But Gian Piero Gasperini saw something no one else did. He didn't need megastars. He created them. Under his leadership, Atlanta became Europe's most fearless team. They pressed high, played fast, and didn't care who they faced. And in 2024, they made history. Atlanta destroyed Leverkusen's unbeaten run and lifted the Europa League, their first major European trophy. The streets of Bergamo erupted. It wasn't just victory. It was identity, a reminder that football still belongs to those who dream. The rebirth of passion. In Italy, one team brought joy back to football. Napoli, a club that once belonged to Maradona, finally found their new heroes. Kvaratskhelia, Osimhen, Kim Min-jae. Under Spalletti, Napoli played football that felt alive again. Fast, fearless, untouchable. They won the Serie A for the first time in over 3 decades. Tears flooded Naples. Fireworks lit the sky. The ghosts of Maradona smiled that night. Napoli wasn't just a champion, they were a revival. Leicester City, 2015-16. The dream that shook the world. Perhaps no story defines underdogs like Leicester City, 2016. 5,000-1 odds. A squad built on heart, not hype. Jamie Vardy, N'Golo Kante, Riyad Mahrez. Names that no one feared until they started winning. Week after week, they defied the impossible. Arsenal, Tottenham, City, United, all fell. And when they finally lifted that trophy, football stopped. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. And it reminded the world, you can't script hard. Greece 2004. A team of nobodies who became gods. They defeated France, the Czech Republic, and the mighty Portugal twice. No star players. No big chances. Just discipline and unity. Otto Rehagel's tactics were simple: discipline, defense, destiny. When Charistias scored that header in the final, and when they lifted that trophy in Lisbon, the world stood silent. It wasn't beautiful football. It wasn't fancy, but it was real. And for once, football wasn't about talent. It was about faith. The kind of story that happens once in a lifetime. Newcastle United 2024-25. For years, a sleeping giant. A club whose fans sang louder than their league positions. When Eddie Howe came, it wasn't instant magic, it was graft. But slowly, brick by brick, Newcastle came back. Champions League nights returned to St. James Park, and the black and white army found their roar again. They didn't just play football, they believed again. And then, the unthinkable silverware. After decades of drought, Newcastle finally touched glory after 56 years, defeating Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final 2-1. Tears, fireworks, history reborn. Crystal Palace, 2024-25. When Oliver Glasner took charge, they were written off. Injuries, inconsistency, chaos. Then came ease, Alice, and Matida. Suddenly, they looked unstoppable, attacking like eagles who remembered they could fly. They crushed big teams, stunned the Premier League, and played the most fearless football South London had ever seen. They won their first ever trophy against Man City in the FA Cup final. It secured automatic placement for them in the Europa League. Unbelievable, but they did it. They also defeat Liverpool to win their second trophy in the Community Shield final. Real Madrid, 2016 to 2018. 3 Champions Leagues in a row. It wasn't supposed to happen in modern football, but they did it. Zidane, Ronaldo, Modric, Ramos. Mentality monsters. They didn't play perfect football. They played winning football. Every final, every comeback, every moment felt inevitable. And when that third trophy was lifted in Kiev, the world knew we were watching history. Porto, a young Jose Mourinho, Afearlis Deco, Carvalho, Ferreira. They took down giants from Manchester United to Monaco. And when they lifted the Champions League, Mourinho whispered, "The special one was born tonight." A club from Portugal beating Europe's elite. It wasn't luck, it was destiny. Inter Milan, the only Italian team ever to win the treble. Mourinho again, emotion, intensity, obsession. He outsmarted Guardiola's Barcelona, defended like gladiators, and conquered Europe. When he left San Siro in tears that night, it wasn't goodbye, it was immortality. Bologna 2024-2025. Then came Bologna, a club that hadn't touched the Champions League in 6 decades. Under Thiago Motta, the forgotten maestro, they turned into warriors, and when they secured Champions League football, tears rolled down the faces of fans who had waited a lifetime. They also defeated AC Milan in the Coppa Italia trophy after 51 years drought. No one expected them to fight. No one believed they could last, but they did. They fought giants. They beat them. Spain, Euro 2008 to 2012. 3 trophies in a row. No one's ever done that. Tiki-taka wasn't just passing, it was poetry. Xavi, Iniesta, Casillas, Ramos. They ruled football for 4 straight years. A dynasty of dominance. And when the golden age ended, the silence that followed was deafening. It wasn't the Champions League, but when the whistle blew and Rome cried, you'd swear it was. After years of heartbreak, they finally lifted something. And Mourinho, once again, reminded the world why emotion matters. They won the Europa Conference League, first in the last 12 years for them. They did the unexpected and shocked the world. Villarreal 2020-21. The submarine that sank giants. In Spain, where Real Madrid and Barcelona tower over everyone, Villarreal dared to be different. A club from a town of barely 50,000 people, smaller than most neighborhoods in Madrid, somehow found its way to the biggest stages in Europe. Under Unai Emery, they mastered the art of strategy. Patient, intelligent, disciplined. The Yellow Submarine didn't need to outspend you. They outsmarted you. And when they lifted the Europa League in 2021, beating Manchester United, the football world stood still. Because that wasn't just a trophy, it was proof that small clubs can still make big dreams come true. Argentina 2022, from despair to immortality. And then the story that completed it all. The world watching, hearts and hands. Lionel Messi, the man who carried Argentina's hopes for nearly 2 decades, finally lifting the one trophy that always escaped him, the World Cup. From losing finals to criticism, to tears, it all ended in a script that felt written by fate itself. When Messi raised that trophy under the lights of Lusail, time stopped. Children cried. Grown men whispered, "We saw it happen." It was the perfect ending to the story of football's greatest son. VfB Stuttgart 2024-25. The return of a sleeping giant. 2024 DFB Pokal winners. Just 2 years before, VfB Stuttgart were battling relegation, fighting tooth and nail to stay in the Bundesliga. Their fans had seen pain, disappointment, and heartbreak. The once proud club that lifted the Bundesliga in 2007 had fallen into mediocrity. But in 2024, something changed. Under Sebastian Hoeneß, Stuttgart weren't just winning. They were playing fearless football. They weren't just defending, they were believing. They defeated Bayern Munich in a game that felt like destiny, taking down the German giants who had ruled for over a decade. And then, they marched all the way to the DFB Pokal final, where they completed the impossible. As the final whistle blew and Stuttgart lifted their first major trophy in years, the tears in the eyes of their fans said it all. This wasn't just a win. It was a resurrection. For a club that had been through the storm, this was sunshine after years of darkness. Go ahead, Eagles 2024-25, the small club that dared to dream. Meanwhile, over in the Netherlands, another miracle was taking shape. Go Ahead Eagles, a small team from Deventer, were never meant to be part of football's fairy tale book. For decades, they were the definition of mid-table survivors, quietly existing in the shadow of Ajax, PSV, and Feyenoord. But in the 2024 to 25 KNVB Cup, something clicked. With a squad made of misfits, academy products, and dreamers, the Eagles soared. They took down AZ Alkmaar, fought past Feyenoord, and even stunned PSV on their way to the final. For a town that had never seen silverware in generations, every game felt like history being rewritten. And when they finally lifted the KNVB Cup, fans flooded the pitch in tears. It wasn't about money or fame. It was about pride, belief, and the spirit of football itself. Nottingham Forest, from second division to Kings of Europe, 1978 to 1980. They said lightning doesn't strike twice. But Brian Clough didn't listen. Nottingham Forest, a team barely surviving England's second division, rose to become the Kings of Europe twice. In 1979 and again in 1980, Forest conquered the continent, defeating giants like Liverpool and Hamburg. It wasn't luck, it was belief. The story of men who refused to play by football's rules and instead rewrote them. Hellas Verona, the Serie A Shockers, 1984 to 1985. They had no stars, no big names, but Hellas Verona, a small Italian side, won the most competitive Serie A season in history. They outclassed Juventus, Inter, Milan, and Roma, all with a team of fighters and dreamers. 1985 was the year football learned that heart could beat money. Red Star Belgrade, Eastern Europe's miracle, 1991. In a divided world, one team united a nation. Red Star Belgrade of Yugoslavia defied the odds, defeating Marseille in the European Cup final in 1991. As war loomed over their homeland, these players gave their people one final moment of pride. A team built on passion, not politics, forever remembered as the champions from the East. Manchester City, the four-peat Kings, 2020 to 2024. Between 2020 and 2024, they did what no other English team had ever done. 4 consecutive Premier League titles. Not United, not Arsenal, not Liverpool, only City. It started like a whisper in 2020, a quiet comeback after disappointment. But soon, the whisper became a roar. Each season told a story of its own. 2020 to 21, the redemption. 2021 to 22, the final day miracle against Aston Villa. 2022 to 23, the treble, Premier League, FA Cup, and that long-awaited Champions League night in Istanbul. And 2023 to 24, the confirmation, the four-peat, when they silenced every doubt. They became a machine built on Pep's obsession with perfection, De Bruyne's genius, Rodri's calm, and Haaland's hunger. But behind the precision was emotion, the relief, the sweat, the feeling that every match meant everything. For years, City were called pretenders. Now, they have become the standard. Football has always been about one thing, the impossible. And as every season writes a new miracle, one truth remains. Legends fade, dynasties fall, but dreams? Dreams never die. Drop a like, share it with a football friend, and subscribe, because the next one might just be the untold truth of your favorite team.